What's up guys, and welcome back to Slip the Jab. Today I'm going through the biggest boxing news stories that have happened over the last week, and the first story to talk about is a big one. It's the Tyson Fury vs Alexander Usyk fight. It's been announced, initially reported through various sources. Mike here, his tweet going out being one of the early credible sources that this fight is actually going to happen. Now, everything that Fury does, I doubt. Now, just the nature of the way he's negotiated over the last few years, he's been terrible at actually getting a fight put together. And he says he'll fight anyone, anytime, but it's been bullshit, pure bullshit. But Mike is a credible source generally, and I tend to believe what he says. So, could this actually be on? I'm going to have a hard time believing it until they're both in the ring, but it's definitely looking that way. However, we have seen stuff like this before, particularly with the AJ and Tyson Fury fight. There was a huge amount of reporting around that being agreed to, and that was progressing, and theoretical dates, and that hasn't been the case, particularly an example of that being Sky Sports. Also now reporting the Fury Usyk fight is going to happen, but they also reported previously that the AJ Fury fight would happen. So until they actually touch gloves, I'm going to have a hard time believing this fight will happen, just because of what Fury has put heavyweight boxing fans through over the last year or so. In terms of how this fight might actually happen compared to where it was earlier on in the year when contract talks broke down between the two, could this be a mastermind plan from Usyk? Now, there's been a lot of talk about Usyk's fight against Dubois, in which he looked vulnerable in certain places, particularly with body shots, and obviously the controversial low blow body shot moment between Dubois and Usyk. However, semi-recently, Usyk was questioned on whether he took it a little bit easier against Chisora when he moved up to heavyweight to try and entice AJ into getting in the ring with him. And Usyk did say, yes, I did take it easier. Now, Usyk could just be talking, he could just be playing up to the cameras. He likes to be a little bit sarcastic and have a little laugh with the media, but taking his word at face value, if he had done that before to try and get AJ into the ring, which was successful and resulted in him being a champion, could he be doing the same with Tyson Fury? A lot of people thought the reason Tyson Fury avoids these fights is, though people give him a fair chance of winning these fights or even have him as the favourite, they're not easy fights. Definitely not easy fights on paper, at least. As a result, he's talked the big talk, he's pretended to make the fights happen, but him and his promotional company, which have always seemed like they're never actually going to make any fights, have made some ridiculous demands, and then these fights have fallen through. This time, however, if the rumours are believed to be true, then this fight is actually going to happen because maybe Usyk took it easy against Dubois. I think there could be potentially some merit to that comment, and it might have got Fury thinking, actually, this will be a lot easier fight than I even thought it could be. And his trainers might feel the same, and they thought, this isn't really a high risk fight anymore, we can make this happen, we can make a lot of money, and we can get an easy win. I'm not saying that's exactly what's happened, but I'm just throwing that out there as an idea, and I'd love to hear anyone else's thoughts on if they think that is the case. I think I'd only dignify this matchup with a proper analysis when official announcements are made, and even then I feel like I could be putting out a video that might not ever match up to an actual fight happening. However, this is the fight to make. There hasn't been an undisputed heavyweight champion in a very, very long time, and people have been crying out for this one for a very long time. So, as the eternal optimist, I've got to say, it looks good to have a little bit of hope, but we've been let down so many times, particularly by the Fury camp, that I'm not convinced until this one actually happens and they are in the ring ready to fight each other. The other big story within boxing this week was the rumours surrounding Showtime promotions going under and not having any of their contracts renewed after 2024. Now, I've stuck a tweet on screen from Raf, who's a boxing analyst, building his way up. I like some of the reports that he's put out, but take what I'm reading here with a pinch of salt, of course. But as per this tweet, it's confirming that Showtime will not be continuing their boxing schedule after 2024, and that they're pulling the plug on boxing after 37 years in the industry, but noted that the 2023 calendar will remain unaffected. Obviously, they've got a big fight on the cards for Canelo Vs Charlo this weekend. If you want to see my thoughts on that, I will post a link just about now. I'll also link it below as well. Dana White from the UFC has spoken about this collapse and has said some choice things about Espinosa, who runs Showtime. I think this is a big shock if it is true, but I'm not sure why it would go under, because these guys make a lot of money. There'd have to be a lot of mismanagement for them to go under. In other news, Ryan Garcia has thrown out that there is going to be a fight announcement next week for him. He's obviously coming off that loss against Gervonta Davis. He'll be wanting to rebuild his career and his next path forward. Ryan was struggling to make weight at 135, so that move up to 140 seems natural. But I'm interested to see who he announces his fight against and what weight class that will be held at. Looking forward to seeing him back in the ring when he does come back. On some more light-hearted and heartwarming kind of news, Zhang has returned back to China, and he's been greeted at the airport by hundreds, if not thousands, of fans there to support him. The footage you're seeing on the screen is taken straight from his Instagram. It's really good to see a turnout for him. There's been a history in boxing of fighters coming back to their countries to be greeted at the airport, to the point where notable fighters such as Fury has talked about returning to airports and not having a huge amount of fans waiting for them, and it's almost something to be expected when you put in a good performance, but usually it's for world titles. And Zhang getting this response after the Joyce fight is brilliant to see. I think it's well deserved, and it's nice to see him getting his flowers after putting in a really solid pair of performances, really growing his stock. And from the character that I've seen him show in his post-fight interviews and he's a very likable person. And finally, I wanted to round up on some talk around some upcoming fights. The first is Shakur Stevenson taking on Edwin De Los Santos for the vacant lightweight title. So that's Shakur trying to become a 3-division world champion, which I think is well within his reach. But I think Dos Santos is a good fighter, and it should be at least a decent contest, though Shakur has really shown that he is one of the best fighters pound for pound in the world. I'll do a breakdown closer to the time for that, but he should have a very good chance of winning that regardless. Also reported on this article is Navarrete getting back in the ring to fight against Robson Conceição for the junior lightweight title that he currently holds and won off of Oscar Valdez recently. So the Shakur Stevenson fight, that would be for the WBC lightweight belt, and the Navarrete fight would be for the WBO junior lightweight belt. Those are ones to watch out for in the future. And also we have Caroline Dubois' world title fight this weekend as well. That's one to catch. That is for an IBO world title, so recognised by several European bodies as a legit title, but not by organisations such as the Ring magazine. Therefore, doesn't count as the true portion of a world championship. However, it is a great step in the right direction. It is a belt that you'd want to have, and there have been a lot of great champions that have won that belt, and they've won that belt on the way to becoming undisputed champions or just winning a portion of the big 4 belts that we know of. So that is one to catch this weekend. So that's it from me. That's a roundup of this week's boxing news. I think there's been a busy week generally in boxing news. Interested to see if anything comes of that Fury fight talk, but we'll just have to see. This has been Slip the Jab. Thanks for watching, and take it easy.